forget that we're not going to be doing pulse checks.
Yeah, this is strictly hands-only civilian.
Are you going to introduce us?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, jeez.
I'd like to use a pseudonym.
I can't be, wait a minute, I got to stop this. I'm in the Federal Witness Protection Program. I can't be on.
I've got warrants.
Oh, here we go.
Thanks for continuing your visit to the Snyder Fire Department. My name is John. I'm a firefighter EMT with the Snyder Fire Department. And with us this afternoon is firefighter EMT Ann, firefighter paramedic Alan. And we're going to review a couple situations that hopefully you never find yourself in. But if you do, a little knowledge and a little willingness to participate can make a huge difference. It could save the life of a family member, a coworker, a stranger in public, or even yourself if you know what to do. So the first thing we're going to look at is hands-only CPR. And we're going to run through it first in real time, and then we'll step back and kind of explain the steps so it makes more sense. So what happens is you may find or come upon or witness even somebody go down, collapse, go on into unconsciousness. So you need to begin by
You okay? Not breathing. Call 911.
Okay, so what you've witnessed is the beginning of hands-only CPR. And a lot of times the reluctance to get involved, even with a family member, is a concern that you may be exposed to disease, you may not know what to do, you may be intimidated by trying to give breaths. And the nice part about the hands-only CPR is it allows you to deliver life-saving compressions and not get involved with delivering breaths. The reality is that person that's collapsed with sudden cardiac arrest has probably a good 5 to 6 minutes of oxygen in their system, and by you doing compressions deep enough and fast enough, and we'll talk about that in a second, you can give them an excellent chance of survival. If you don't, or somebody doesn't begin CPR immediately, by the time rescuers arrive, the chance of that person surviving is under 10%. So we want better odds than that. I want better odds than that. You want better odds than that. So by learning these few quick skills, you may be able to make a very positive effect to somebody that's stricken. So the first thing we're going to look at is either you witness somebody collapse or you come upon somebody that has collapsed. You need to check for responsiveness. Before you even do that, check the scene and make sure it is safe for you to be there. That's foremost and most important. So once you've determined that it is safe to be there, you're going to check for responsiveness. And you notice Al is shaking and shouting at the person. So we're looking for signs of life. So in other words, moaning, groaning, opening of eyes, looking at you is an indicator that that person still has a heartbeat. So not hearing anything, even breaths that are gasping only, not normal breaths, a normal routine in and out breath is what you're looking for. If those are absent, you need to begin chest compressions right away. And you'll notice that 911 is being called. If you're there by yourself, take a second, dial 911, put it on speaker, set it down. The fire dispatcher will be able to get your information, the location of your emergency, and if you forget any of these steps, they will be able to walk you through it. The fire dispatchers are trained dispatchers with emergency medical backgrounds and the ability to coach you through a very trying situation. You'll notice he's delivering chest compressions. You want to be in the center of the chest, and you want to use two hands. If you notice, his hands are one on top of another, and the area of the hand that's making contact with the chest is the heel of the hand. And that's most important, that you deliver your chest compressions deep enough and fast enough. So deep enough, we're looking at about 2 inches of depth of compression, and fast enough, you're looking at between 100 and 120 a minute. So sometimes people are a little concerned about how you remember that. If you're good with time, think of about 2 compressions per second. If you're not, there's a little piece of music that has been known to help. So BG, Staying Alive, is a very good rhythm to use to kind of guide your compressions with. How long do you need to keep this up? Until the rescuers arrive. Remember, you have a good 5 to 6 minutes of oxygen that you're circulating. You're perfusing the brain with deep, rapid compressions, and that's most important. So you can make a very positive influence, give that person the best chance of survival as possible. So the next event that we're going to look at is profuse rapid bleeding. Rapid bleeding. So we're going to move our mannequin up to the table so it's a little easier for you to see. Okay, and this is going to be the type of bleeding that's usually not something you've seen. This is going to be very severe arterial bleeding. And the importance of this, of you getting involved in this, is that that person has a limited amount of time until their bleeding becomes a fatal event. And we want to eliminate that. And you can do it with minimal resources. One of the first things, if you find yourself or find a coworker, a loved one that suffered an injury, whether it's at home, at work, you need to stem the flow of blood as quick as possible. So you're going to have to determine the source of the bleeding. Sometimes with clothing, it kind of hides where the actual source is, where the wound is. So remove the clothing, pull up the clothing, cut the clothing away, whatever you have to do to get at that source. So the first thing that's available to you always is your hand. Now, if you know the person, you're comfortable with the person, family member, for example, you can use your bare hand to put pressure directly on the wound, as Ann's doing right now. And you're going to hold that. You're stemming the flow of blood. You're going to hold that until other resources become available. The other alternatives, if you have a first aid kit at work or first aid kit at home, you can put on gloves and use a gloved hand to stem the bleeding. And that will work again until the next resource becomes available. Okay, there are a lot of commercial dressings, regular dressings. So Ann is using now the hand with the glove on it. Keeps you isolated from the blood itself, but allows you to get good pressure on that wound. Okay, once your dressings become available, that's the material that's going to be used to be placed directly on the wound. Use that. Okay. So as Alan is doing now, he's putting the gauze pad, the dressing right on the wound. There's a number of different dressings that are available. Again, it depends on what you have available. There's a type of dressing called a hemostatic dressing, and that's a specially treated dressing that will improve the coagulation of the blood. In other words, slow the bleeding down most directly. So if that becomes available, quickly remove the pad that's there, put the hemostatic dressing on, and put another pad directly on top of that. And you're going to continue that pressure. You need to continue the pressure on the wound directly. If bandaging material becomes available to you, you're going to develop what's called a pressure dressing and a pressure bandage. So you're going to see that they're wrapping now a gauze type bandage around that pad and dressing. And each time he passes over the top of the wound, he's going to give that bandage a twist. It develops further pressure on the wound to, again, further stem the flow of blood. Now, there's always a chance that that's not going to be sufficient, depending on the nature of the injury. And there's another tool that's available to you and I as the initial caregiver. Okay, and that's a tourniquet. Now there's commercial tourniquets available. Alan is showing you one. And you notice they're about 2 inches in width, and that's important, so just hold on to that thought for a second. Now that tourniquet needs to go about 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches above the source of the bleeding. It cannot go over a joint, so it can't go over an elbow, it can't go over a wrist, can't go over a knee. So if we're close to that joint, you're going to go above the joint then to put the tourniquet on. So the tourniquet is put on as snugly as possible. Tighten it down. Okay, once that band is in place, then you're going to see him twisting a small rod. It's called a windlass. And that's going to develop the real pressure to pinch that bleeding source so that it secures and stops the bleeding. The question is always, how tight do I put a tourniquet on? And the very simple answer is, until the bleeding stops. So there's no number of turns that are sufficient. There's no number of turns that are too many. You need to put the tourniquet in place tight enough so the bleeding stops. So once the bleeding stops, you know you have that tourniquet in place. If you have the wherewithal, you can write on either tourniquet, if there's a band on it, or across the forehead of that person, the time the tourniquet was applied. And that's going to be important for the doctors at the hospital once the patient gets there. Okay? If you don't have a commercial tourniquet available to you, and you may not, depending on where you are, there's a couple alternative readily available sources. Okay, again, we said that the tourniquet should be about 2 inches in width, 1.5 inches, 2 inches wide. So something as simple or readily available as a belt can be used. Okay, the belt is just pulled tight, again, about 2 to 3 inches above the wound, above the bleeding source. And that's going to be pulled as tight as possible. Again, how tight? Enough to stop the bleeding. So that's one alternative source. The other one is cloth or material. Maybe a scarf, maybe part of clothing. And again, quickly fold that down to about 2 inches, 1.5 inches, 2 inches in width. You're going to place that again about 2 to 3 inches above the wound. Again, not on a joint at all. Okay, so that's secured in place. It's just tied in place, a simple overhand knot. And you need something to act as a windlass, same as on the commercial tourniquets. So we've just picked up a screwdriver that was lying around. So anything like that, any kitchen utensil that's not going to break with some twisting force. And you're going to turn that makeshift windlass to tighten that makeshift tourniquet. And again, you want it as tight as you can get it to stop the bleeding. So once you get it to that degree and the bleeding stops, you've sufficiently controlled the bleeding. And then Alan is using another piece of cloth or material to tie that windlass in place. It doesn't have the clip that a commercial tourniquet has. So we're going to improvise a little bit and tie it in place. So the two interventions that we've looked at this afternoon, the sudden cardiac arrest with hands-only CPR and the profuse bleeding. For additional information, you can Google American Heart Association. You can find CPR courses that are available in the community that can develop your skills to even a higher level, so you're more confident in yourself. And for that bleeding, it's stopthebleed.org, stopthebleed.org. And they have courses that are available. It's a very quick course, about 45 minutes. And it will show you these techniques and several others. You get to do some hands-on, so you become familiar with it. So it's sufficiently, you're sufficiently trained to be able to make a difference. So you've got some good information now, hopefully at this point. A little optimistic, belief that you're not going to run into these situations, but if you do, you have the ability to make a huge difference in somebody's health and survival. You have the knowledge. All we ask is that you have the willingness to get involved. So thank you for your time this afternoon, and please enjoy the rest of your tour of the firehouse. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our virtual open house. Thank you for watching. Sorry we all can't be here together live and in person, but hopefully next year things will be changed. We'll be able to be here and see everybody's faces again. So what we're going to talk about now is the 911 system, and when you call 911, what to expect when you call 911, what's happening in the background, things like that. So what to expect. My personal job after being a firefighter is a 911 dispatcher. So we work at a 911 operations center. It's out of the Amherst Police Department on John James Audubon Parkway. So you call 911, the first thing you're going to want to do is give us the address of the emergency. This is the most important, because if you can't give us any other information, at least we know where it is and we can send somebody to help you right away. So first thing they're going to do, what's your emergency? What type of emergency do you have? Whether it's the police department, whether it's the fire department, or whether you need an ambulance, all three of those things you call 911 for. If you accidentally call 911, just stay on the line and just explain to the operator that you dialed the wrong number, and they'll probably send an officer just to verify it, but they'll be not licensed sirens. When you do call 911, you may get transferred. If you need fire or medical, that's a separate department, so they'll transfer you to the fire department. And what the fire department will do is they'll ask you a series of questions. If it's a medical emergency, it's a fire emergency. If it's a medical emergency, the dispatcher is trained to assist you until the fire department responds or the ambulance gets there. So there's two people working. There's a call taker and there's a dispatcher. So as the call taker is talking to you on the phone, there's also a dispatcher. Dispatcher will dispatch the fire company. All firefighters will carry a Monitor around. It's basically a portable radio. So when the dispatcher sends the alert tone out to a fire company, this goes off and they'll alert the fire department, alert all the members to where the emergency is, what kind of emergency they're going to. So they can respond from either their home or if they're at the firehouse. So while the fire department's coming, the dispatcher, the call taker, will assist you with whether it's controlling the bleeding like you just seen, doing CPR. If it's a fire, they'll ask you where the fire is, if you can get out safely, make sure that all the doors are closed. If you can't get out safely, they're going to ask you where you're at, so we can alert the fire company as to where to look for you if they need to get you out of the house themselves. The biggest thing, remain calm, speak clearly, and the fire department will be helping you as soon as possible. Some of the instructions that they might give you is, remember, you want to stay low. You want to close the door. You want to get out. And you want to make sure that you have a spot where you can get all your family members to meet at one place outside. So the second thing we're going to talk about today is smoke detectors.
I got that. Hi, I'm here to talk to you about a very important topic, smoke detector, something that everybody should have in their house. There's a couple different styles that we have. The most common one you see today are combination smoke detector and CO detectors. Ideally, you would like to have a smoke detector in your hallways, in every bedroom, and one on each floor. Some of the older style smoke detectors have a 9-volt battery in them. Chances are, if you have one of these types of smoke detectors, they're most likely outdated. You might want to consider purchasing a new smoke detector for however much it is. Can you really put a price on your lives? Also, it's important to make sure you test them regularly. All smoke detectors have a test feature that are right on the front of the smoke detector. If you just press the button, you can make sure that it is working properly and functioning. If you hear a chirp in your smoke detector, chances are it's a battery. You can attempt to change the battery, and if that doesn't work, it might be time to once again buy a new smoke detector. If your smoke detector does go off, no matter what time of day it is, the first thing you want to do is get out of the house. And then, as you heard earlier, call 911. It's important to make sure everybody gets out of the house and you don't go back in for anything. And like was said earlier, make sure you close all the doors and dial 911. Make sure you have a meeting place somewhere easily visible by not only the fire department, but anybody else that might be responding who's closer, such as the police department or an ambulance that might have been driving by in the area. It's important to also have fire drills for you and your family, making sure that you are prepared in case an emergency like this happens. If you put a smoke detector in the basement, ideally you would like to have them near things that can start a fire, your hot water tank, your furnace. It's also make sure that you don't have anything near those that are easily flammable, such as cardboard boxes, paper, anything like that. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hold on. Good. All you guys ready? Good. Okay. Hold off. Good. There we go. Good. Good. You guys ready? How you doing? My name is Captain Galuza, and today we're going to do some vehicle extrication. All right, with me, I have a group of guys. These gentlemen that you see that are going to work on this vehicle are going to roll up on our rescue truck. All right, the rescue truck's parked outside. You might be able to hear it. Inside that rescue truck, we carry all the tools you'll see on the ground. Okay, we carry a wide variety of tools to help us extricate somebody out of a car. The loud boom you heard was an airbag that deployed inside of a vehicle. Your airbag will deploy on any collisions at the proper speed. Okay, so now the airbag was deployed. We're demonstrating a car accident. So the crew's going to show up. They're going to assess the situation. All right, what they're doing now is we're simulating is that we can't get the driver out of the vehicle. All right, so what we're going to do is stabilize the vehicle, which you're doing by putting the step chocks on the floor. All right, and all that is doing is helping stabilize the vehicle so we can work around the vehicle without it moving. In a real situation, we would pop the tires and lower the vehicle right onto the stabilizers. What the crew is doing now is covering the patient with what's called an extrication blanket. And all that fancy blanket is just to protect the victim inside the vehicle from any broken glass or anything like that. As you can see, we put one of our members in the back of the vehicle. That member is in the vehicle to talk to the patient, to calm that patient down, to reassure that patient, to understand that they're going to hear some noises they've never heard before, and kind of explain what the operation is going to be. What they're doing now is taking the glass. We remove the glass from a vehicle so that when we start cutting, it doesn't shatter all over us. It's more of a controlled shatter. So as you see, they're pushing the glass in. As you can kind of tell, our firefighter is really not covered by the blanket. But due to the equipment that we wear, we don't really have to worry about it. Okay. So what the crew is doing now is they're going to cut out the front windshield. The front windshield is made of a special type of glass that we can't just shatter. So we have these special saws to help us cut it out of the way. So now what the crew is going to do is they're going to get ready to actually extricate this patient out. All right, so guys, let's hold up for a second. Mike, bring that tool up. So this tool here is called, as you might hear, it's called the Jaws of Life. All right, we just call it a spreader. This tool can open and close to spread open or pry, or we can use for lifting. All right, you can see how wide it opens and how wide it closes, or how it closes. All right, Nikki. Now this is what we call a cutter. All it is like big giant scissors. It's going to be able to cut the metal out of the way for us to remove doors, posts, or anything else inside the vehicle that's hindering us from getting to the patient. So what the firefighter is doing now is prying open the door to give himself a better point to stick the spreaders in. This is a fine art of extrication to get everything to pop properly. So as you can see, the captain is directing the firefighter on how to properly take the door. Now these tools are heavy, so at times we might change out for lack of fatigue on the firefighters. All right, so now that the door is free, what we're going to do is go in and cut the door right off the car. So the reason that we take the door right out of the way is so that it's easier for the crew and the patient to be able to extricate the vehicle. Watch out working around that stuff. Okay, so now if this was what we'd call a door pop, which is just take the door off, we'd be able to get that patient extricated out of the vehicle and give that patient off to EMS. So now what we're going to simulate is that we have to do a more extensive cutting of the vehicle. All right, this could be that it was a severe T-bone collision, unable to get to the patient out, anything that you can think of that we might have to do with this. All right, so now what they're going to do is they're going to make some cuts and pretty much take the whole side of the car out. All right, so like I said before, as the crew works, we do have one of our members in the back of the vehicle calming down the patient, explaining the noises that they're hearing, what's going to be the next step, why we're doing what we're doing. And by no means is this a fast process at all. So now that the crew has the other door moved, that post that's right by the patient, we're going to cut out of the way. All right, so now that we have the other door taken off, the other post out of the way, we have full access to the patient for ease for exiting the vehicle. So, in real life, we would move the patient out with the help of the ambulance and get that patient taken off to the nearest hospital. That's fine.
In case there was other victims.
So now what the crew is going to do is they're going to take the roof off the vehicle. We would take the roof off the vehicle if we had multiple patients in the car. If the car was up against something heavy, like a building or sidewall on a throughway, or possibly another vehicle. So what they're going to do is they're going to make cuts all around the top of that car, and we're going to remove the roof right off this vehicle. As you see now, the crew has removed the roof. All right, now in a real situation, we might have more than one person in the vehicle we might have to attend to. Now this gives the crews and the EMS crews all the access we would need to administer first aid to everybody in the vehicle. If you want to. All right, so now what we're going to simulate is a homeowner working on a vehicle using the improper safety precautions to keep the vehicle safe, and the vehicle dropped on the patient. On the rescue truck, we carry airbags that will help us be able to lift off a vehicle to remove that patient. Now, one thing that we do is for our own safety is every time we lift something, we use some sort of cribbing to make sure that if something happens to that airbag, it can't fall back on the patient and it can't hurt one of us. All right. We could do it.
All right, thank you everybody for watching our live stream open house so far. Here with the Chief Van Horn of the Snyder Fire Department. Chief, how long have you been the chief so far?
Too long. No, I've been the chief for the past 4 years.
Before that, you served as the first assistant and second assistant chief. How long have you been in the fire service altogether?
Fire service, about 37, 38 years. 30 of those years were working for the city of Buffalo. So I started here in the Snyder Fire Department in 1983 and took the exam for the city fire department in 86 and then got on the city fire department in 1987. Retired in 17.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief. What are some things that you enjoy about being a firefighter?
Camaraderie. Excuse me. Camaraderie. The numerous people that I've met, not only in Snyder, but all the surrounding companies in Amherst, Cheektowaga, Tonawanda, New York City, Rochester. I've met so many different, members from different departments.
Awesome, awesome. Anything that you'd like to tell anybody if they're interested in becoming a firefighter or joining the Snyder Fire Department?
Get to the fire hall, stop by, let us know that you're interested. If you don't live in Snyder, just go to your local fire department and ask them for an application. It's well worth the trip to the firehouse.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Thank you. So we'll be back here in a little bit. We'll take a little break and line up some other folks to interview and talk to. Again, thank you for watching our virtual fire prevention open house. Again, a little different than what we've done in years past. We hope you enjoyed the extrication demo that we did. A lot of different things with that, show you some of the different tools and equipment we have, some of the tours around our apparatus, both the engine and ladder truck, as well as you got to see some of our firefighters do some skills upstairs with forcible entry as well as searching, and talked a little bit about the thermal imaging camera. So we'll just take a quick moment and line up a few other folks. All right, so we're back again with firefighter Trish Hudson, who you saw earlier talk about the food drive for Tiger Den. So Trish, over the last afternoon, couple hours, how are things have been going?
Things are amazing. We've had about 80 cars and about 10 walk-ups come through the food drive. And we have an amazing amount of food that we have collected, so much so we're probably going to have to make 2 trips down to the food pantry. But it's been absolutely amazing. We'll be out there till 6 o'clock. So if you get a chance, come on down, bring some non-perishable food items, and it supports your local community, 14221 and 14226 area codes. Zip codes. Area codes.
Great, thank you. So again, thank you to everybody who's come out to support the Tiger's Den food drive and donated food. It's greatly appreciated. Again, it helps a lot of families here in the 14226 and 14221 zip codes. We couldn't be happier. Also now joined by us is Second Assistant Chief Hudson. Come on in.
Oh, am I talking?
You are. All right, Chief.
Thanks for viewing. Hi, Cynthia, Stacy, Lee, Hudson, Ollie, because I know you guys are watching. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to keep going. I know there were glitches here and there. I know Zach's worked really hard on this. Everybody did. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a great time doing it. That's one of the things that we always try to do here. It is a serious business, but we do also try to have a good time. If you're interested in joining us at all, for the 12 of you that are watching, please go on to our website and you can see it. I'm glad that got a laugh. And you can see the application process. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that's coming on to this? Or I'm just standing here? Okay. I think that's it. Zach, anybody else? Anything else?
Great. Thank you, Chief. All right. Come on in, Mick.
Oh, wait. Hi, Ben. I forgot you.
Oh, sorry, Ben. All right. So, again, thank you to everybody who's been watching so far. Talking to a couple of our members in the firehouse here. So you saw Mick here work as part of the extrication team in the last demo. Mick, how long have you been a firefighter?
Been with the Snyder Fire Department for about 6 years now. Took a little break for college, but when I came back, I joined again.
So outside of work, outside of the fire department, what do you do for a job?
I am a certified public accountant, so I could bore all of you with taxes and those sorts of information. But tonight we'll keep it exciting with the fire department stuff.
Sounds good. What are some things you enjoy about being a firefighter?
When people call 911, it's definitely their worst day or one of the worst days they're going to experience. So all of us responding at the same time, whether it's from our houses, from work, or wherever we're coming from, being there for that person and trying to make it a little bit better because it's already a bad day is probably one of the best parts about this job.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see if we can grab a few other members here from the Snyder Fire Department to talk to. Otherwise, we're going to work on getting a couple other things shown. And again, thank you so much for watching our live stream. Again, first time we're doing it, and we're extremely proud of everybody's efforts and work so far from the department, as well as everybody who has donated food for the Tiger's Den food pantry. We really could not have done this without the members and the officers of the fire department, as well as the members of the community. Again, we are all volunteer, and we are always accepting applications for new members. If you want to join us, or if you think this is something you want to be a part of, visit our website, snyderfd.com or visit us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to find out more information and to get an application. Again, we're always looking for new members to join us and to become part of our team. We'll provide you with all the training necessary so you can learn how to cut apart cars, fight fires, become an EMT, and serve your community and give back. So we'll just take a quick little break and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back here from the Snyder Fire Department live on YouTube streaming, talking to some of the members of the fire department and some people who have been around it for quite a long time. Here with me is a good friend of mine, a longtime friend, Lieutenant Chris Oliver. Chris, how long have you been a firefighter here at Snyder?
A little over 14 years. Joined July of 2006 when I was a junior in high school.
So both Chris and I joined as Torch Boys, which is a historical term. So it's both men or young boys and girls can join at 16 years old. They can join the Snyder Fire Department, become trained, do a lot of different activities, be a part of our drills, and then move up the ranks. Chris, you currently are one of our lieutenants here at Snyder. What are some things that you enjoy about your time as a firefighter and as an officer and as being a member of Snyder?
One of the things that I've enjoyed is all the people that I've gotten to help over the 14 years. Currently, I serve as the lieutenant of Engine 1, and knowing that I have that responsibility of making sure that truck is first due and is ready to go to help someone in their emergency, in their worst time of day, is really rewarding. And it's something that I've held close to me for my entire time here.
Thanks, Chris. Outside of here, I know you talked a little bit about it earlier, but outside of the fire department, what do you do as a day or night job?
I currently work for the town of Amherst. I'm a 911 dispatcher for the Amherst Police Department. I work nights, so getting to calls during the day can be challenging, but it's something that I take pride in doing. And even at my job, being able to help people no matter what I do is rewarding.
Great. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Again, we're accepting memberships and applications. You can be as 16 years old and join as long as you live within the Snyder Fire District. Again, all that information is on our website, snyderfd.com. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
All right, so we're back live here again, the Snyder Fire Department with Lieutenant Dan Binda, one of our lieutenants here at Snyder. Dan, how long have you been a member of the fire department?
A little over 7 years now.
Great. So what are some things you enjoy about being a firefighter?
Honestly, riding in a fire truck doesn't really get old. There are times where your inner 5-year-old pops out when you're going down the road and the lights and sirens are going and you kind of sit there going.
So you like being a little kid?
Pretty much. I haven't grown up.
Most of us haven't.
Just gotten bigger.
Yeah, most of us haven't grown up. We're still little kids who get to play with some really big toys. What are some of the, I think I asked you already, but some of the things that you enjoy other than riding in a fire truck and, playing with the lights and sirens?
It's nice to be able to help people. It's nice to just, I don't know, I like getting out and helping people and doing what we can to help out the community.
So when you're not here at the fire department, what is your regular day job?
I work for the Town of Amherst Highway Department.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Dan.
Glad I could help.
All right. Finishing up here, we've Michelle Shalino is back from Tiger's Den. Michelle, how has the food drive been so far?
The food drive is going great. There's so much food that has been dropped off by the community. And on behalf of Tiger's Den, I just want to say thank you. We truly appreciate it. Donations have been down due to the pandemic, so every little bit helps. And the nice part about this, it's staying right in your community. Tiger's Den helps people in the 14226 zip code. So a lot of your neighbors that you might not even know about are struggling at this time. So this food is going to go a long way. We still have some more time if you're interested in dropping things off, but I can't believe the donations. Now we've got to find a place to put them all. So, but thanks to everybody who stopped by.
Great, thank you very much. And that food drive goes until 6 o'clock here at the Snyder Fire Department in the back parking lot, and as our telephone rings. So thank you. Keep watching. We'll see. We'll show some more interesting things. Again, thank you for watching so far and seeing all of the fun stuff we've showed.